Hello then viewers, and welcome into episode 26 of our F1 Manager 22 save on the PS5 with the Mercedes team. I hope I find you very well. First of all, I want to apologize for the lack of uploads over the past couple of days. I've got a bit of a chest infection still. You may hear it in my voice, so I've been recovering from that, and also I had some duties at work which required me to travel, so it stopped me from uploading. But we're back ahead of the Australian Grand Prix, round 3 of our second season. Now, before we jump into the episode properly, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the new subscribers and everyone who has been enjoying, liking, viewing the content. I do appreciate you. We've got past our target of 150 subscribers, and we've done it without me even sort of really knowing. So thank you so much. I do hope you are continuing to enjoy the content. And anyone that's new around here, hit the subscribe button down below. We're now going to push towards 200 subscribers, which hopefully we can achieve before the end of 22. But for this Grand Prix, we are heading to Australia, coming off the back of a disappointing race in Jeddah. We've come into this season on the back foot, and the Mercedes is not up to scratch right now. As you can see, we're currently down in 4th place in the constructors standings, with the Red Bull currently running away with things at the minute. Drivers wise, defending world champion Lewis Hamilton is currently in 5th place, George Russell down in P9. So we've been struggling points wise, and until we get these upgrades on our underfloor, on our suspension, I don't think we're going to see much improvement on this car. But we're just gonna have to keep chugging along. We're gonna get some more upgrades to come soon enough, so I'm just gonna keep working on the car. Right, as we push on to the Australian Grand Prix, the wind tunnel refurbishment has been completed. The board confidence is still high, which is a bit of a surprise because right now we aren't doing very well. But yeah, we've got a board review in 4 months, so fingers crossed that stays there. Financially, let's take a look at the season balance. We're still doing okay. But balance wise, yeah, probably gonna have to look to start saving a bit of money soon, because we have spent a lot of money on the facilities and it's not bringing in as much money as we would like. So right now, money wise, yeah, it's not looking good on the breakdown, but in terms of our total projection, we've still got about 90 million to spend, so there'll be a lot of upgrades on this car. Let's fast forward then, as our side pods have been completed. So let's take a look at the car, as the manufacturing of the suspension has also been completed, but we'll take a look at that in a second. As first, the helipad, some refurbishment, so let's refurbish that. That will be done pretty soon. Let's head back to our emails. Right, the suspension needs 2 more, so let's manufacture another 4. Okay, so we've already got the new version of the suspension on the car, so that is fine. Right, design wise, we don't have any wind tunnel hours or anything. We're currently working on projects. Let's take a look at the projects that we are working on. Car parts development, ongoing projects. The underfloor will be completed in 11 days, but then we're still currently going on the next version of the underfloor, which is 4 days. 35 days on the front wing, and the suspension will nearly be done. We do have some engineers available, so what we're actually going to do, we're going to up that to 6 to just speed that up a little bit more. And the front wing will get an extra 2 on there, so that should speed it up by a few days as well. So hopefully those new parts can come a little bit quicker, as we've got our first new regulation vote of the season. So let's take a look here. As you know, we may change the regulations that define Formula One's rules between season to season to make the sport fairer for competitions. We're proposing new minor technical regulations. So what are they going to be? Option A, cooling focus changes, or option B, airflow focus changes? I think I'm going to vote for airflow. I'm going to vote for airflow because our cooling is actually pretty good, I think. So I'm going to vote for airflow focus changes. We're going to vote for that, and hopefully this time it can go in our favor. As we continue on, the helipad has been refurbished. Fantastic stuff there. And we'll push on towards the Australian Grand Prix. Let's take a look at race preparation performance targets. Right, reach Q3 as always, reach Q as well. Qualifying position. On top of that, 2 drivers in the top 10, because right now we are not doing so well in qualifying. Fastest lap we're not going to be able to do, but finishing position, 2 drivers again, top 10. And if you remember last year, Australia was the scene for Lewis Hamilton's first race win of last season. It was a brilliant drive. It was in the rain, so we could be doing with a little bit more rain this weekend for a bit more chaos. Let's head into Australia and let's hope for a positive outcome on this race.
Welcome to Melbourne for a weekend of fierce competition. We're a stone's throw from the beach here at the Albert Park circuit. It might be party mood in the grandstands, but in the paddock, expectations and tensions are high. The Albert Park circuit is bursting with rapid corners and a long straight where drivers can push their speed to the limits. Good attention to medium speed downforce will likely make beating this beast of a track just a little bit easier. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. Stay right here, because we're just getting started.
Right, last time out in Jeddah, we had a P6 and a P8, so we're looking to improve from that. This weekend, it doesn't seem as though it's likely to rain, cloudy all weekend, so that's not gone in our favor so far. Let's push on then. Obviously, we're going to have to go through our setup process, so I'll do that throughout these practice sessions, and any highlights, once again, I'll bring them to you as always. Right, coming towards the end of practice then, and George Russell's on 86% for his performance setup, so good for him. Tire wise, we're not doing the best. Our soft tire doesn't seem to work very consistently around here in terms of life, so we're just going to put on an old set of softs just to reconfigure the car so that we're ready for the next practice session. We're probably not going to head out again. Time wise, Lewis Hamilton down in P8, George Russell in P10, but the surprise is once again are the Alpines and just how improved that car has been with Alonso and Ocon. Up in P3 and P5. Let's just get a little bit more feedback on the track acclimatization. What we will do is we'll get them both to conserve their tires, because really and truly we don't need them pushing too much. It's just a little bit of extra feedback that we need there with George Russell, and Lewis Hamilton is out as well. So to the final 8 minutes, we're probably not going to set any faster times, but at the minute, Charles Leclerc leads ahead of Max Verstappen, which, is trouble for us in the championship, because I assume that those are going to be our 2 closest rivals. And 92% there for George Russell, so 2 optimals and 3 greats. We're nearly getting there on the setup, but just a few more tweaks to go, I think. Just a few more things that we need to do. Lewis Hamilton is struggling a little bit more on the other side of the garage, but we're going to send them out now on the medium tires. Track acclimatization being at around 30% for both drivers, so somewhat of a positive there. Just got a little bit more work to do on the setups. End of practice 2 then, and Lewis Hamilton is about to head into the garage, as is George Russell. The track acclimatization has gone well, currently in the mid 60s, and our feedback is looking good as well. George Russell saying his setup is optimal, and Lewis Hamilton suggesting that his setup is great. Let's ride on board with Lewis Hamilton with an Alpine behind him of Esteban Ocon. Time wise, we're not very quick. Lewis Hamilton in P10, George Russell in P11, which I think might be where we're looking at in our qualifying pace as well, because again, this car has not come into the season very quick at all, but we're still learning about it, and we've got a long way to go in the rest of this season, and I'm sure we will make the relevant changes. But end of practice 2, some good data taken on board, but now we need to find a little bit more speed heading into qualifying. So in terms of that setup feedback then, we got 99% for George Russell. We're going to try and get to that 100. think it's the, obviously the braking stability will need to go a little bit there. Let's play around with it and see. Right, the previous best was 8. Best for that was 8. That's the optimal so far. If we do something like that, then the blowout can go back. I want it to go the other way, really, ideally. The best that was on was 0.85 and that was 0.50. Right. So we want something like that, I think. We're going to do that with George Russell. We're going to put him on the hard tyre and we're going to send him out for 30 laps, I think. Actually, let's send him out for 35. And that should get him to 100% on the track acclimatization. With Lewis Hamilton, 84% is a bit better, but not fantastic. 2 optimals, 2 greats and a bad. So we've still got a lot of work to do on his car here in practice 3. And that is George Russell with hundreds across the board in terms of his practice setup. Let's call him in and check his car setup. He's got 100% on the track acclimatization and 100% on the car parts knowledge. So let's bring him in. And that's him done now for the end of this session. We're currently down in P19 and 20, but again, we weren't really too bothered by that just because, yeah, we were all about this setup here. So let's take a look at his setup. 98%. The best that he got is a 99. So I think we're gonna just go back to that 99%. Unless we go 1 down, do that, slap on some soft tires, then put that down to, let's do 10 laps, and that should be okay. Lewis Hamilton, he's still out on track, just going round. He's got a great confidence setup, but not optimal. So he's not in the same sort of setup window as George Russell at all, and he's also only on 87% for the track acclimatization. So a little bit of work to do there for Lewis. 15 minutes to go until the end of the session. Probably not going to get more done in terms of our setup changes, but yeah, we might just about reach 100% on the track acclimatization with Lewis, which is still very important. Right, here we go then. Q1 has started. Lewis Hamilton is going out now. We are going to send our guys out early because I think we're going to need probably 2 runs to get out of Q1 comfortably. Let's speed that up then and hopefully get into Q3. That is the main thing here. Our main objective is to get into Q3 and try to qualify as high as possible. If I'm being realistic, I'm gonna think maybe P8 and 9, something like that, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not feeling confident right now. Lewis Hamilton down in P9, George Russell in P12. I'm kind of banking on the Williams, the Aston Martins, and the rookie in the Haas to not improve. We've sent George Russell back out on a used set of softs. Same with Lewis Hamilton. Maybe that's not the smartest decision. I remember last year in Australia, we didn't choose wisely when qualifying. I think was in the rain, and we started in P19 and P20. But yeah, Lewis Hamilton should be safe, but it's George Russell I'm a little bit worried about as we head in towards the end of Q1. Right, George Russell is not improving, so we are kind of banking on the cars in the bottom 5 not making it. And Mick Schumacher is going to be the first across the line, I believe, in the Williams. He is currently about 0.8 of a second behind George Russell as Lando Norris is comfortable. Mick Schumacher is out. We're going to call George Russell in. That's fine. But yeah, we're so far okay. The Haas hasn't made it. Yuki Tsunoda, can he make it in the Williams? I don't think he will, but George Russell down in P13, he should be okay. Where's Zhou and where is Lance Stroll? They're coming around the final corners now. We're going to refuel as well with Lewis Hamilton. I don't know why that message comes up. I don't know if it's a bit of a glitch, but anyway. Let's take a look here as Zhou Guanyu in the Aston Martin comes to the start-finish line, crosses the line, takes the checkered flag, down in P19. Lance Stroll down in P20. And Yuki Tsunoda did improve, but only P17. So George Russell got through just. Our Mercedes down in P11 and P13. That is a massive, massive concern for us. Coming towards the end of Q2 then, and I think a lot of cars set their first flying lap on a used set of soft tyres as we're coming towards the end of this session. Lewis Hamilton's in P6, George Russell is in P9 on the verge of being eliminated. Max Verstappen takes P1 here and knocks George Russell down to P10. George Russell is currently out. He needs to be improving here, and is he? He's gone green the middle sector, but slower sector 1. Is George Russell going to be eliminated here in Q2? Why do we keep getting that message? I'm not too sure what's happening as George Russell comes towards the end. Oh, he's run out of fuel, and Lewis Hamilton is out as well. Both of our drivers are out. Why does this keep happening? We keep allowing the drivers to do it automatically. We're out of Q2. Lewis Hamilton's in P11, George Russell's in P12, and we're out of Q2. We've not even made it to Q3. Both our drivers are eliminated. Now, we always leave the qualifying on automatic, and I'm guessing both of our drivers are just pushing the fuel too much on either the out lap or on the flying lap. Because when we get to the start-finish straight, we're running out of fuel, and we've been eliminated from Q2. This season is going from bad to worse for the Mercedes team. We're going to be behind the McLarens, the Alpines, and the Alfa Romeos as well. We're going to have a lot of work to do here, starting from the back half of the grid. But we need to figure out that issue with the fueling. I'm not too sure why that keeps happening. But now on to Sunday's race, and yeah, we're just gonna have to fight for a double points finish.
The time has come to fight it out. It's race day.
Mercedes ran into a number of issues during qualifying, and they won't be starting the race where they'd want to be. But anything can happen, and they're surely ready to take any opportunity that comes their way. Alfa Romeo managed to meet expectations during qualifying, and if they can keep this up, they'll have a good race ahead of them. A sunny day here with only a few clouds in the sky. If things stay this way, the weather shouldn't pose any challenges to the teams.
In any case, Melbourne is ready, and so are we. So strap yourselves in for the Australian Grand Prix.
Right, so strategy-wise, the one-stop strategy is probably the quickest. Hards onto mediums, or mediums onto hards. But one thing that is positive for us is that if things do get a bit problematic at the end of the race, if there's a safety car or something like that, we do have a fresh set of soft tires. Pure performance, unless we get some overtakes on DRS or we manage our ERS quite well, or we're better on our tires than some of our rivals, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get a lot of points here, if any. We're going to try and save our tires at the early part of the race so that we can be a little bit better towards the end. But the tire wear around here is drastic. Actually, if we take a look here, would we be better off going attacking? I think for our car, and considering where we are this season, we would be better off two-stopping and doing something like that. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Update strategy B. We're going to two-stop. It might not necessarily be the best, but we can always adjust if necessary. But I think we're going to two-stop. I think if we're going to want to make up positions, we need to go aggressive for the whole race. And like I said before, there could be safety cars. You never know. And let's go aggressive on there. And we'll do that. We'll make the middle stint last a little bit longer. Okay. Two-stop strategy is for both cars. Let's head onto the grid and see how much damage we've got to make up on those Alpines and Alfa Romeos especially.
It's out, and away
Here we
we
go then, and we need to make a fast start. So straight onto aggressive we go with both drivers. Lewis Hamilton down in P11, George Russell in P12. There's no collisions, please. Hopefully we can push on through this race, as Lewis Hamilton's already made up one place, passing Daniel Ricciardo up into the points, and we're on the back of Valtteri Bottas. If we could get a positive race result against the Alfa Romeos, I will take that as somewhat of a small victory here. George Russell, how's he getting on? He's side by side with Sebastian Vettel from the start of this race, but he's managed to clear him. And now Lewis Hamilton can chase onto the back of Lando Norris if Daniel Ricciardo lets us. He's not letting us at the minute. They're going side by side here. Daniel Ricciardo's actually taken the position back from Lewis Hamilton. The McLaren is faster than us right now in a straight line. This is embarrassing. What car have I produced this season? Somehow it's worse than last year, as we keep going with Lewis Hamilton still side by side with Daniel Ricciardo, and George Russell is behind watching this battle progress. We've not made up a position here on lap 1. Out in front, Charles Leclerc is comfortably ahead of Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen in P3, and they seem to be running away already from Carlos Sainz. Alonso in P5, Ocon in P6. As you can see, the leaders going 3 wide almost, as Lewis Hamilton finally gets by Daniel Ricciardo. You can now settle in, chase Lando Norris. Russell then with a move around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. He does well to get up to P11, but he is still outside of the points at the minute. As you can see, just ahead, Lewis Hamilton stuck behind Lando Norris. There's not been much to get excited by for the engineers at the Mercedes team, but that was something to be excited by. But straight away, Sebastian Vettel passes George Russell under DRS. So maybe that excitement is short-lived as we deploy a little bit of ERS with both of our drivers here. Lewis Hamilton has an opportunity under DRS to try and get the position past Lando Norris. Let's take a look at the tyres. Everyone seems to be doing similar to us, and maybe it is going to be a 2-stop race. Let's take a look. George Russell is there up against Sebastian Vettel side by side. The DRS is not open. That hopefully is just a visual glitch, but that should be a good move there by George Russell. It seems to be, but even with the ERS, we don't have the speed. There we go. DRS gives us that little bit extra we need to go back onto neutral, as Lewis Hamilton has made it past Lando Norris as well, and he's passed Pierre Gasly. A brilliant double move there by Lewis Hamilton. Let's take a look at the replay if it does come, but he's now up into P8. That is fantastic driving from Lewis. Let's see here what happened. We don't get to see the Lando Norris move, which was a little bit earlier, but around the outside there of Pierre Gasly, he's been held up by his teammate a little bit. It's a brilliant double move there by Lewis Hamilton, who's now up in P8. He can get past Valtteri Bottas. Then this is a pretty decent start to race. Let's go back onto neutral with him, and George Russell will hopefully start closing onto the back of that train as well. Right, so a safety car has been called. What has happened here? It involves Max Verstappen and the 2 Alpines. Max Verstappen locks up. Oh, and he plays bowling. He smashes right into Fernando Alonso and wipes him out. What an awful mistake there by Max Verstappen. And the safety car is now out. So we get a chance here to harvest some battery or conserve the fuel as well. But we've got a few free positions here. Lewis Hamilton up into P8, George Russell up into Lewis Hamilton up into P7, George Russell up into P8. We get to save our tyres. That means Pierre Gasly's up to P6, Bottas in P5, Ocon in P4. Another fantastic race for him. This Alpine is very, very fast this season. Sergio Perez currently leads the race ahead of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, who has dropped back of the pack of the front 3. I'm not too sure what has happened there, but lap 10 of 58, and it'll be interesting now strategy wise what happens, because this now allows us to potentially change back to a 1-stop strategy. The tyre wear wasn't too bad, so we don't need to worry about boxing in just yet. We can settle in behind the safety car, save some tyres, and we can address it in a few laps time. Right, safety car is in this lap, and Sergio Perez is now leading from the front of this race. As you can see, the queue behind is drastic, and the Mercedes of George Russell trying to get out of the dirty air there a little bit. As we are about to go racing, we've set our tires onto aggressive, we're pushing on the fuel as well, and we're going to try and jump these two Alfa Romeos if we can. And there goes Sergio Perez. We're going to follow on and see if we can get an early overtake here, and if we can, we'll try to then save the tires for a little bit later in the stint. So here goes Lewis Hamilton behind the Alfa Romeo of Pierre Gasly, and there's George Russell just behind as well. Come on, both of us can attack this part of the race while we have a little bit better tyre wear than I think we thought. Right, so interestingly, on lap 15, one of the leaders, Carlos Sainz, has come into the pits for hard tyres. He's gone very, very early then. So that is a bit of a surprise. Well, out in front, that means Sergio Perez now leads from Charles Leclerc, who you can see is within touching distance in the DRS zone. Lewis Hamilton's up to P6, and he is chasing Pierre Gasly now. If all of these cars are gonna two-stop, that means our strategy could just be playing a blinder here, as behind George Russell is doing a fantastic job of just holding off the Mercedes, the McLaren here. But Lando Norris does have DRS. He's going to take a look round the outside of George Russell. George Russell's defending very, very well here. Lewis Hamilton, he kind of needs to give his teammates some DRS. But George Russell is being dropped behind a little bit here as Esteban Ocon comes into the pits. Pierre Gasly comes into the pits. Right, let's attack on these tyres. Everyone seems to be doing a two-stop strategy. We're going to attack on these tyres while there's a little bit of life left in them. And then we are going to bring in George Russell for hard tyres, and then we're just going to pretty much match what everyone else is doing. If they're going to two-stop, we're going to two-stop, and let's see how many points we can get. Right, in comes George Russell for his pit stop then. On the medium tyres, he goes onto the hards. Hopefully the people behind have a little bit of traffic. Let's see where George Russell comes out then. In comparison to, we're probably going to compare it to the likes of Ocon and Sainz. They're coming down the start-finish straight now. George Russell comes out, and he is just behind Esteban Ocon, but he has jumped. Pierre Gasly has no. He's just behind Pierre Gasly, but he jumped Ricciardo. We're going to go on to standard with George Russell. We're going to try and push up to the back of Pierre Gasly. That's potentially worked out well there for George, if he can stay in front of Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton, who set the fastest lap of this race, we're going to keep going on these hard tyres. While he's got a little bit of fresh air in front, we're going to see what we could do. As Valtteri Bottas has passed Charles Leclerc and is up into P2. Right, in comes Lewis Hamilton from P4 in this race. Not everyone seems to be two-stopping, only some do. So Lewis Hamilton pushed his tyres to the very end. Onto the hard tyres he goes. Where will he come out? If he can jump Ocon, that would be fantastic. And if he could jump Sainz as well, that would be brilliant. I don't really know where they are on the circuit, but here he goes. Lewis Hamilton coming out of the pitch. You can see the battle there. Ocon and Sainz. Are they going to get him? There's Lewis Hamilton. He's just missed out. Just missed out on that battle, but he has cleared Pierre Gasly in the battle against the Alfa Romeo, so that's good. We're now 2 seconds behind then Carlos Sainz and Ocon. If we can stay in the DRS of them, that will be fantastic, as behind George Russell is struggling to keep a hold of Daniel Ricciardo, who is flying at the minute. That McLaren seems to be very fast around here, whereas we do not seem to have the level of pace whatsoever. But yeah, I think this is now separated into a different sort of race now between two-stoppers and one-stoppers. Out at the front, I think Bottas, who leads this race, Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo. Where is this car produced from? Absolutely fantastic, as they, I think, are doing a one-stop. Leclerc in P2, Sergio Perez in P3, Albon in the Alpha Tauri, and Lando Norris doing a brilliant job so far, which I think means they're going on to a one-stop. So if we could maybe be a little bit more aggressive on these tyres, coming towards the end of the stint, we might be able to catch them towards the end of this race. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Magnussen leads this race. I repeat, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas leads this race. He's yet to pit stop, which is fair enough. He started on the hard tyre, but that's not something I ever expected to see. As Lewis Hamilton currently down in P7, battling with Daniel Ricciardo, George Russell in P9. We managed to clear Norris, Albon, Vettel, who did pit late. So good stuff from us so far, as we now gonna make these tires last potentially until the end of the race if possible. Looking at the tire wear, I definitely think it is a possibility with Lewis Hamilton, maybe less so with George Russell, but it remains to be seen. As long as we're in the DRS of the likes of Bottas, then I think we're okay. But this fight is stretching all the way now. Carlos Sainz pitting early has worked out well for him. He's got clear air, but I do think he is definitely two-stopping. Perez, Leclerc are one-stopping. I don't really know what Ocon's doing as they're fighting, but it's great to see now 6 or 7 cars for a possible race win here. If something crazy happens, who knows? But on lap 24, everyone's now made a pit stop apart from your race leader, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. Lewis Hamilton with a brilliant move around the outside of Valtteri Bottas, mostly thanks to Kevin Magnussen, who is still yet to pit. He is going very long on these hard tyres. Lewis Hamilton's now up into P5, being stuck behind Kevin Magnussen. As Valtteri Bottas looks down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. Can we defend it off? Yes, we can. We need to get by Kevin Magnussen quickly. He's holding us up. But the negative thing about that is it means we won't have DRS when we really need it, because we don't have the speed here. George Russell's in P9 behind Daniel Ricciardo, but still ahead of Pierre Gasly. The good thing is, if we can both get both of our cars to finish ahead of both Alfa Romeos, that is a positive in the Constructors' Championship. As we watch 5 cars here being held up by Kevin Magnussen, who has made this stint work very well for him. Fair play. I don't think he would have expected to lead a lap of a race this season, but he's done very well, and we're now struggling to get by him. Can we get around the outside? Yes, we can. No, we can't. We might just have to wait for the DRS zone, as Lewis Hamilton's still going. If we don't have DRS here, we could be in big trouble. Right. We could be in trouble here, unless Kevin Magnussen could do a brilliant defensive job for us. A load of cars could come flying past us with the DRS. We need to watch behind, as Kevin Magnussen has DRS, Bottas has DRS, Ocon has DRS, Ricciardo has DRS, Russell has DRS, but Lewis Hamilton does well to defend it off. As long as we can keep Kevin Magnussen between us and the other cars for the time being, we can maybe build a little bit of a gap. Right, from the lead then, Carlos Sainz has come into the pits for his second pit stop. He's come on to the medium tyre. He's dropped down to P10. Strategy wise, George Russell, he's due to come into the pit stop for one more stop in 1 lap's time. Lewis Hamilton is still fighting with Ocon and Bottas here, but the tyre wear seems to be okay. I think we can go 1 stop here with Lewis. I might risk it. George Russell, I'm not sure. I don't know if we've got the pace or the ability to make the tyres last here with George Russell. But so far, the tyre wear on Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes is not that bad. So we might potentially risk it, depending on how quick we could go towards the end and just how many other cars are 2 stopping. If one stopping, if Valtteri Bottas is 1 stopping, I think we're going to stick with him. Our tyre wear is better than Ocon's, but not as good as Bottas, who obviously came in a bit later than us. But yeah, this is a really interesting race now, as Ocon's coming into the pits, Daniel Ricciardo's coming into the pits, Gasly's coming into the pits as well. So this strategy, there are going to be 17 laps left. And there's going to be about a 25-second gap. And we're going to have DRS behind Bottas. Hamilton's going 1 stop. If they catch us, they catch us. But I think they're all going to be overtaking each other. They're not going to. George Russell I think we're going to one-stop with him as well. They have to make their way through traffic. Carlos Sainz is probably going to catch and pass us. Let's take a look at his last lap time. His last lap time was a 1:27.8. Well, 5 seconds slower. That includes, I'm assuming, his pit stop, as someone has locked up. Who's gone off in sector 1? Has there been a bit of an accident? Yuki Tsunoda has caused a crash. There's been a crash in sector 1. Is there going to be a safety car, another safety car? Let's take a look here. It's Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, he's crashed into Ocon. Yuki Tsunoda's crashed into Ocon. Oh, the Alpines have both been taken out here. Alonso was taken out earlier in the race by Max Verstappen, and Tsunoda's crashed into Ocon, who's wiped him out. That's brilliant for our race strategy. I don't really care about anything else. We need to see just how quickly Carlos Sainz is closing up behind us, and what is the gap to the leader here. So Daniel Ricciardo is 20 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. He can't make up 20 seconds in 16 laps, surely. As Lewis Hamilton overtakes Valtteri Bottas down the main straight with DRS for P3. What a move that was, Lewis. There's a potential podium on here if our tyres do not drastically fall off. Celebrations in the paddock is absolutely deserved, because right now our strategy is playing into our hands, and George Russell, his tyres might not make it. His tyres might not make it. But with DRS, we're going to try our best here. If he can get past Valtteri Bottas as well, absolutely fantastic. 16 laps to go. And it's so intriguing right now with all of the different strategies. Right, 4 laps to go in this race, and George Russell has just overtaken Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas has now checked out ahead of us. Carlos Sainz has made this 2-stop strategy work well for him. And he is now back up into P3. Sergio Perez is in P2, but Charles Leclerc seems to have an easy race win here. But the battle now is for P5 and P6. We have to start saving some tyres with George Russell. Lewis Hamilton doesn't have that problem just yet, because he did pit in a little bit later, but the tyre wear is now starting to hit us. If I look behind us, the likes of Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly are closing, but there's only 4 laps left, and Lando Norris has a 6-second gap, so I don't think he'll be able to catch, as Lewis Hamilton has now got past George Russell again. We're gonna have to probably start conserving some tyres with Lewis as well once we hit that 30% mark. But for the final couple of laps, we're just going to let them race. It's P5 and P6. This has been a brilliant race so far. I don't think we're going to be able to catch Valtteri Bottas unless his tyres completely drop off, as George Russell with DRS goes down the inside of his more experienced world champion teammate. And yeah, this is a huge fight now for P5, but we do need to watch out behind us. But 6-second gap with 3 laps to go, I think it's maybe going to be a little bit too much. Gasly, Ricciardo, Magnussen, look at him in the points. That one-stop strategy has worked really well for him. He's doing well fighting with the Alpha Tauris. Who's 2-stopped? Ricciardo and Gasly, I think they left themselves a little bit too much to do. Ocon, he got screwed by Yuki Tsunoda, who crashed into him, and that really ruined Alpine's race. But right now, everything is between these 2 Mercedes for P5. It's the final lap of the race, and look at the distance between the 2 Mercedes. But what we need to be careful of now is that on the final lap, Pierre Gasly and Ricciardo are in clean air, and they're only 3 seconds behind on much fresher tyres. While we're fighting, we're just going to go on attack mode now. It's the final lap. If you crash, you crash. We're just going to allow them to go and do it. We're going to push the fuel as well, because even though them 2 are fighting, we need to look out behind us. And you can see just in the distance there's Pierre Gasly. He's cut the gap to George Russell down to 2.3 seconds. Can the 2 Mercedes stop fighting just for a second, but hold off the guys behind, as George Russell's gonna have DRS on his more experienced teammate Lewis Hamilton? As we get to the checkered flag, Charles Leclerc is gonna take his first race win of the season, I believe. comes across the line in first place. It's a Ferrari 1-2 with Carlos Sainz coming home in second place. He's a photo finish just ahead of Sergio Perez as Lewis Hamilton is defended from George Russell. There's Pierre Gasly. Pierre Gasly's just there. If there was one more lap, they would have caught on to us as Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. It's going to be a sprint. Who's going to get it? George Russell's going to get him on the line. On the line, George Russell overtakes Lewis Hamilton for P5. The DRS gave him that extra push, and George Russell comes home and beats the current world champion on the line. A photo finish. What a brilliant end to the race there, and fantastic from us to change strategy late on. That got us a massive haul of points, coming home ahead of Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo in P8, Lando Norris in P9, and Kevin Magnussen with a well-deserved point. For me, he was definitely driver of the day. He led his first lap of this save and came home in P10. What a brilliant drive from him. But the two Mercedes coming home P5 and 6, that's a positive result for us considering just how bad this car is, and it gives us a huge leap ahead of Alpine in the constructors, I believe, or at least closes a gap on Alpine, and it means we're still fighting with Alfa Romeo.
And here today, George Russell making British motorsport proud. Mercedes once again showing why they're one of the biggest names in F1.
Indeed, the team has demonstrated technical skill as well as a great deal of heart. They can be really proud of their efforts this weekend.
And after this result, the team is fourth in the constructor standings.
Now the teams will be looking ahead to Imola, where the season progresses with the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Get ready for some fierce competition.
Truly entertaining race that was. Charles Leclerc, your race winner. Carlos Sainz with the fastest lap of the race, unsurprising there with his two-stop strategy, and Ferrari taking home the maximum haul of points. But for Mercedes, real good, impressive performance from our guys. In the driver's standings, it means Lewis Hamilton's currently in P6 and George Russell's up to P7, but still a long way to go. Carlos Sainz is currently your leader of the Drivers' Championship. Who would have thought of the two Ferraris it would be him? Charles Leclerc currently sitting in P4, but it's still very close at the top. Constructors wise, Mercedes still sitting in P4, but on the same amount of points as Alfa Romeo. We've cleared Alpine a little bit there. Very well done from us. And we are currently 44 points behind Ferrari, which I can deal with considering we've got a lot of upgrades still to come on this car. Sponsorship wise, we've probably done pretty well as George Russell gives himself a development point. Well done for him. Let's continue on there. Sponsorship wise, outgoing, performance guarantees, qualifying position, we lost out on some money because we didn't qualify for Q3, but apart from that, we done pretty well as my battery is about to run out on the controller. But that's going to bring about the end of episode 26 for this save, as the design center has been fully upgraded. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Lots of drama, a photo finish, and some huge points here for Mercedes. As ever, if you are new around here, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button if you are enjoying the content, and we'll be back for regular F1 Manager content coming soon. And in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you for the next video.